back, everybody. It's going to be the second Mission Possible, showcasing social innovation, where we'll hear from 5 of this year's MB100 winning entrepreneurs who'll be presenting their solutions to the issues they're tackling through their work. Before we introduce the entrepreneurs, I'd like to bring our judges onto stage. So can I welcome Amini Kajunju, the COO of the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf Presidential Centre, and Jessie Coates, Global Impact Entrepreneurship and Markets Leader at EY. Hello to both of you. So if you can just quickly introduce yourselves and your work in this space, we will then bring our wonderful entrepreneurs on stage. So Amini, if I can start with you.
Hello, everybody. Again, my name is Amini Kajunju, and indeed, I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the Ellen Johnson Presidential Center for Women in Development. I'm so happy to be on this platform. For 10 years, I worked as the Executive Director of a nonprofit called Workshop and Business Opportunities, and I supported entrepreneurs with funding, with advice, with coaches, mentors, sponsors. So it's really great to be in this space, in this entrepreneurial space, which is a space that I deeply love. Thank you.
Thank you, Amini. And Jessie?
Sure. Thank you, Tom. And likewise, it's great to be here today on this MB100 forum. And as you shared, Tom, my name's Jessie. I'm the Global Impact Entrepreneurship and Markets Leader at EY. For those of you that aren't familiar with us, EY is a global professional services firm which exists to build a better working world. And as part of that purpose, we have a social impact ambition to positively impact 1 billion lives by 2030. One of the ways in which we're achieving that ambition is by extending our services on a not-for-profit basis to impact entrepreneurs around the world through EY Ripples, which is our global social impact program. And that's the work that I have the privilege of leading. And of course, we can't possibly achieve that ambition alone. So a huge part of our approach is collaborating with impact investors, foundations, governments, and like-minded corporations who are kind of similarly advocating for a more meaningful form of business. So I would just give a plug also to say that if you're an impact entrepreneur seeking not-for-profit support to help scale your business, or if you represent an organization that's looking to join forces around this agenda, then please do feel free to kind of connect with me or check out our Ripples program online. But today, obviously, I'm really excited to be learning more about these incredible MB100 winners who are making the seemingly impossible possible, and looking forward to hearing more from them through this showcase.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. And that's a great segue to actually bring on our impact entrepreneurs. So can I welcome Abdelrazek Ali, the co-founder and CEO of Bonocle, Alejandro Souza, the founder of Pixza and Wemerang, Dieudonne Kwame Agudah, the founder and CEO of Washking, Eleanor, the founder and CEO of HACE, Data Changing Child Labour, and Sabine Stuiver, the co-founder and CMO of Hydraloop International. So going in alphabetical order, I'd like to hand over to Abdelrazek, who will be kicking off with his presentation. Good luck.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ali. This goes Ali for short. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Bonocle. Today, I would like to show you how we plan on impacting and helping 40 million blind people get better access to technology. Next slide, please. So, Bonocle is a braille education and entertainment platform for the blind. It's a very powerful device packed with tactile feedback, haptics, and motion sensors to provide the most accessible and immersive user experience for the blind community. It's very portable and can easily fit in your pocket, and it costs less than 30% of the average cost of competition. So how does it work? It connects to your smart device, be it your iPhone or iPad, and it works with a library of applications and games that allow it to wear different hats depending on the user needs. Next slide, please. So Bonocle is a braille education. Let's look into some examples. Education has been a very big challenge for the blind community over the past decades. Due to the lack of braille teachers, braille illiteracy has reached over 90%, which led to an unemployment rate of over 70% within the blind community. We have been building educational apps that allow the blind community to learn braille anywhere in the world at the comfort of their home. This could be an app that helps them learn their alphabet, spelling, or even math in the braille table. It can also be used by teachers to teach at school multiple students at once. Here are some few demos. Next slide, please.
Morning.
Morning, capital M. O. R. N. Ein. N. R. O. Capital M.
Next slide, please. Yeah, so this way, a blind person would be able to learn the alphabet, how to read and how to write, how to learn math at their home, even with the help of their parents, even if they don't know Braille. And then comes the most exciting part of our application library, gaming. Gaming is playing a very important role in our ecosystem for multiple reasons. It helps the blind community integrate in the society in a much better way. It allows them to have fun and integrate with their parents, friends, and family, whether they're sighted or blind. The mission in here is basically to play a gaming experience, an immersive gaming experience that can be played against anyone. So here's a very quick example. This is, by the way, our dog, Bo. That's basically our mascot. In the next game, next slide, please. So the mission in here is basically to help Bo become a guide dog by helping it to move to avoid obstacles. Can you go to the previous slide, please? So depending on the obstacle in front of you, you would need to help Bo jump, slide under, or go right or left. Anyways, I'm not sure. The internet doesn't seem to be working. I cannot see the screen. I'm not sure where we, but yeah. So that's basically a simple game. The point is basically to improve the finger sensitivity, and that will help pave the way to learn Braille. And that's basically the hardest part. Then comes some productivity apps like reading books, navigating Excel sheets, and getting work done. Thank you.
Thank you, Abdelrazek. And if I could now invite Amini and Jessie back on stage. And Jessie, if I go to you first for your questions and feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. And Abdelrazek, thank you so much for sharing. It's such an innovative solution, and I really love the use of gaming, and in particular, I think you described it as your mascot, the dog Bo, your kind of guide dog Bo, which is lovely. I guess when I was doing a bit of research about Bonocle as a business, I was struck by the Braille literacy crisis that you talked about. And obviously, there's a clear need, but could you just share a little bit more about the Braille literacy crisis and the challenge that a lot of blind people are facing, just to give a bit more context to the problem, because it's not something that I'm personally am very aware of.
Absolutely. So the Braille literacy crisis is basically here for multiple reasons, mainly because of the number of Braille teachers. It's very low, it's becoming very low. And because of how expensive the technology available for Braille is. So right now, a Braille display on average would cost thousands of dollars, and it will be focused mainly on text. It's also designed for the blind community mainly. So a parent wouldn't be able to help their kid learn Braille using it because it's just Braille. So the parent would need to learn Braille, and the parent would need to find someone who would teach them Braille and then teach their kids. I always come across a lot of people who would just move from Texas all the way to San Francisco just to get a better access to quality education or accessible education, so they can get access to a Braille teacher. So there are multiple obstacles, and this is exactly what we're trying to tackle by basically having apps that would teach them and become their tutor at home, or having a service that will connect them remotely with a teacher anywhere in the world, and it would help them learn anything in Braille.
Super, thank you. That context is so helpful.
Yeah.
Perfect. And Amini.
Oh, thank you so much. That was fantastic. I learned a lot through watching the presentation. I guess one of the questions that I have is, how do you have a sense of how you can integrate indeed sort of the educational system with your product, and sort of bringing that into it so that you maybe there's a scalability option there if it's accessible to as many educational systems as possible. Wondering what your thoughts were on that.
So we're really trying to we're tackling this in multiple ways. We're trying to be as modular as possible. So at the beginning, we're starting with the basics, just learning the Braille method, learning how to read and write Braille in any language, and that's already done by using the alphabet app, the spelling app, the basics. And then we're providing Braille Bonocle as a tool for the teacher, because we'll never replace the teacher, just like the online education platform. So the teacher doesn't have to know Braille. He would just write whatever he wants. He would write the equation, the math, science, whatever it is, and Bonocle will take care of the rest by basically translating to Braille on the other side.
Thank you, Abdelrazek. I think we've got slight connectivity issues, just hearing you at the end there, but that was brilliant. And thank you, Amini and Jessie. So if we go to our second presenter, second entrepreneur, I'd like to welcome Alejandro Souza, the founder and CEO of Pixza and now Wemerang, but will be presenting about his work at Pixza.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alejandro Souza, and I'm the founder of Pixza. And we were born to solve a huge problem in Mexico. In Mexico, 70% of the population lives in a social abandonment profile. That means that they don't have access to at least one basic necessity, like food, like shelter, like education. And only 30% of that 70% has social mobility across their lifetime, which basically means that they're able to move out of that socio-economic profile into a better one during their lifetime. And so this is a huge issue. And when we were discovering this issue, we found out that this disproportionately affects the youth, meaning that people are born into this profile. They don't end up in this profile. They're born into this profile. And so when we started digging and doing our research, we also realized that we have a broken system in Mexico City trying to address this situation. And that is that there's a lot of players in rehabilitation, in prevention, and in rescue. But there's not enough players or not even close to enough players in reinsertion, right? So we have that broken system. So that's how we were born. And we realized that young adults in this profile needed inclusion, empowerment, and employment. And that's exactly what Pixza offers. We are a social empowerment platform disguised as a pizzeria. That's how we've always described ourselves. And so to understand Pixza, we need to understand those two worlds we live in, right? So in terms of the pizzeria, that's the easy and delicious part to understand. But we did an innovative twist on it. We created the world's first blue corn pizza made out of 100% Mexican ingredients. So think grasshoppers and other, really tasty, weird Mexican delicacies on a blue corn crust. So we created that product. And as a social empowerment platform, we exclusively hire and empower young adults in a social abandonment profile that are aged 17 to 30, and that they have to have at least two of the following 6 characteristics I'm going to mention in order to be a part of our program. They have to be homeless, have a criminal record, have been abandoned by their family members, have no formal education, have a drug addiction or a history of drug abuse, and are migrants, refugees, and or have been deported. The grand majority of our, we call them agents of change, have at least 4 of these 6 characteristics. So imagine having those 6 characteristics at that age group. And so we wanted to make sure that we are targeting the most vulnerable and extreme abandonment profile within that social abandonment profile. And what we do is we offer them a 12-month multi-dimensional empowerment program that has 3 objectives. The first one is professional development. So they're official employees of Pixza. We help them, with their documentation. We give them a debit card so that they have a financial inclusion, and it's a rotational program. And the objective is for them to become branch managers. The second pillar is very profound social emotional skills development. So we have 15 interventions based on neuroscience, positive psychology, coaching, other things that we've come up with to develop 13 social emotional skills. And what we do is we use positive psychology to measure multidimensional well-being across 5 different sectors. And we compare them to themselves, to other cohorts, and to other populations in the world. And third is independent housing. And so we help them move out of the shelter and move into their own apartment. It's a for-profit, for-impact model. After every 10 slices that we sell, an 11th slice gets delivered to these young adults in different shelters. That's how our recruitment process starts. We go, we give them a delicious slice of pizza. We share that moment with them. We say, would you like to come work with us? And that's all the questions that we ask. We've graduated 120 people from our program. We have a turnover rate of 40%, which is significantly lower than the 140% that the industry suffers with in Mexico. So it's actually cheaper for us to do what we do because of the inclusion, loyalty, and all the components that we have. And we're the best ranked B Corp in our world, in our industry, despite our size. Thank you very much.
Wow, nicely done, Alejandro. Thank you very much. And so back to Amini and Jessie. If I can start with you this time, Amini, for your feedback and questions.
Yes, so first of all, I need to come to Mexico and have some of that pizza. That's number one. It sounds delicious. Second, so let's say I had a couple of $1 million in my pocket and I hear this presentation and I say to myself, boy, we have to take this, across the world. What would you say to an offer of franchising this model around the world?
I would say, let's do it, and we're ready. We've already developed the model. Unfortunately, there's a lot of young adults in the same profile as the target group that we have in Mexico across the world. And fortunately, there's a big demand for pizza, right? So it's all about tropicalizing the model. But we've realized that our product is amazing and it's delicious, but what we're best at is our empowerment methodology. And so that's the product that we can really license out and service out. So what we need is actually more people to raise their hand and say, I would like to adopt this model and get it done. So yes, please.
Okay, well, I'll see if I have a couple $1 million to share. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Cool. So Jessie, how do you top?
Yeah, I would. Well, I would just echo. I feel like I need to try some of this blue corn pizza. I also love the description you said of fronting as a pizzeria, but a social empowerment platform. I think it's such a kind of powerful positioning. I guess my question, Alejandro, is more around your experience. I know from looking at your profile that you're actually a serial social entrepreneur, and you've kind of been through this journey of starting and scaling up social businesses a few different times, obviously in this kind of model, a social empowerment model, but also I see you've kind of worked on technology platforms, behavior change kind of platforms as well. I'm just interested, I guess, as to how you or why you decided to go to take this challenge and solve this solution, having kind of put your hand to many others as well. What was it about this challenge that made you think this was a truly scalable solution?
So, great question. Yeah, I've dedicated my life to social entrepreneurship, to empowerment specifically, and like all entrepreneurs, I think there's a particular like aha moment that comes as a result of just having experiences in your life and reflecting on those. And so this happened. It was sort of like the genesis of or how this story started was in two instances. The first one was I was studying grad school and I was at a bar with a friend missing Mexican food, which is what Mexicans and everybody outside of their country does when they're not in their country, right? And then there's this traditional Mexican dish that translates into sandal, which is big and it's made out of blue corn. And the idea of it came to my mind, and I'm like, why is there no such thing as a blue corn pizza? I've done a lot of things, but I've never been a chef. And I didn't know if that was possible. And so I started daydreaming about, a blue corn pizza. And I said, cool, I'm going to call it Pixza because that's how Mexicans refer to pizza. And it's going to have all these cool Mexican things. And that was that idea. And then I took a journalism elective class, and the professor said, go outside to New York City and find someone that has an amazing story to tell. And be that person's shadow for 4 months. And I'm going to give you tools to tell that person's story. But find someone that you're really interested in. And since I was a boy, my mom would take me to shelters. And when you're very young, you don't get to discriminate. You don't get to think that it's different. You just internalize it as a separate reality. But it comes into play with your own reality. And so I took that opportunity to connect with someone that was living on the streets. And that's when I met Joe. He had been living on the streets for 22 years. By the time I met him, he was now working at one of the shelters of which he was a beneficiary. And he said, I'll do that project with you, but let's do this right. And he told me this, I spent 3 nights on the streets. I spent 5 nights in the shelter. every Friday I would go and volunteer at the kitchen. And so I like immersed myself in that experience. And one day coming out of the shelter, I said, well, if I start that Blue Corn Pizzeria, I'm only going to hire people like Joe. And then I went and I did that in Mexico, knowing that it was completely different, that ethnographic sort of, full immersion research, and co-designed the project with them. So it happened because, life happened, and I got that opportunity to connect the dots, I guess.
What an amazing story. Thank you. Thanks, Alejandro.
Brilliant. Thank you, Alejandro.
Thank you.
Well done. That was great. And if we now move on to our third entrepreneur, Dieudonne, founder and CEO of Washking Ghana. Over to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to present to you about my solution. Again, my name is Dieudonne Kwame Agudah, the CEO and founder of Washking. When I was 18 years old, something happened which completely changed my life. That was when I first used safe and adequate toilet. I can still remember the convenience, comfort, safety, and lack of shame that I felt when I used that toilet. And this is exactly what I want for the over 85% of Ghanaians who are without access to safe sanitation. Clearly, because of this lack, over 4,500 children under 5 years die every year, with women and girls attacked and raped, just to mention a few. So I feel these people deserve better and must have a better experience than mine. And this is why I founded Washking. So at Washking, what we do is we make, supply, and install accessible, affordable, safe, and high-quality biodigester-based toilets for low-income and underserved users. The technology separates fecal matter that comes into it into water and solid, and the solid is converted into manure, creating additional value for customers and the environment. With our pay-as-you-go smart technology, people can actually access and use their toilet with the same money that they would have used at a nearby public toilet. Over the years, we have built over 7,000, we have actually served over 7,000 people. And in the next 5 years, our goal is serving over 1 million people in these communities. In conclusion, I'd like to say, I invite you to be part of what we do so that together we can restore dignity to a lot of people in our communities, protect basic human rights, which are being taken away from these people. And I believe with this together, we can transform lives, communities, and the environment for better. Thank you.
Thank you, Dieudonne. That was very powerful and also a minute under time. So Jessie, Amini, welcoming you back. Jessie, your thoughts on that initiative?
Yeah, firstly, Dieudonne, very clear, and I think the first entrepreneur to come in under time, which is always exceptional for a presentation. And also just congratulations on what you're doing. My experience with sanitation, I think you articulated this really clearly, is that dignified sanitation is one aspect, but actually the knock-on impact of then clean water impact, the knock-on impact on health, the gender equality value, there is so much interconnectedness and intersectionality that's there in terms of the impact opportunity that sanitation represents. So just congratulations on the important work that you're doing. I guess my question is, and you talked about at the end how you're looking for partners to join you, to help you, to support you to scale this model, given that there's probably quite a lot of potential partner organizations out there in the audience. Maybe you could just share for us a little bit about how you're planning to scale. So what type types of partnerships are you looking for that will help you scale up your business, whether it's with governments, private sector, whatever those opportunities are?
Okay, thank you. So first of all, what we are trying to do is to scale using a micro-social franchise approach, where we will train young people on this technology across Ghana and beyond. And that's, we need both government and private sector who would, for example, invest to help in training, and then also money to be able to set these people up to run the business successfully wherever they are. Yeah.
Super, thank you. Well, I hope you attract some partners through the MB100 community as well.
Yeah, I also.
Thanks, Jessie. Amini.
Yes, thank you. Just to follow up on Jessie's question, actually, would you consider an off-the-shelf solution as well? You know, to get to a point where this product, this very, very, very important service product, can be bought in a store, and could that be part of, you know, sort of the menu of services and products that you provide? Is that something that you've thought about?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yes, so as a company, one of the things that we are developing and really want to be good at is constant innovation. And so, yeah, so going forward, we want to develop container-based facilities that are very easy to put together and can be sent anywhere for people to install within a short time. And so, yes, it's part of the things that we are planning to do. And already we have developed a smart technology, which I mentioned. And it's part of the future goal, so that we can actually use this and install it on the those container-based facilities when they are available. So it's part of our plans.
Perfect. So we're just out of time there, Dieudonne, and brilliant again. Well done. And so for our penultimate presenter, can I welcome Eleanor Harry, founder and CEO of HACE, Data Changing Child Labour. Over to you, Eleanor.
This is really tough to follow because I'm getting really emotional about how amazing everyone's businesses are. So I'll try to do my best. From a child labour perspective, there are 160 million children still in child labour. Unfortunately, that has increased by 8 million children over the past 4 years. And based on the current data, there is an upwards trajectory of child labour in supply chains. The scale of child labour is every single country and supply chain that we could possibly think of. And I think the most important thing about child labour is the invisible nature of it. The majority of children work in agriculture, and the majority of children also work in a family context. So from a invisibility perspective, it's about shining the light on visibility, not just in children, but most importantly, the reasons why they work. So when it comes to child labour, it's a really sensitive issue, but we often have focused on, I've worked with child labour for 12 years, and the focus is very much solutions driven. So how can we solve child labour? And there's very few questions around people asking the questions of why do children work? So the root causes of child labour are incredibly complex. They go beyond an income poverty. It's usually the gap between income and expenditure of where children work. And this is where we really can see root causes. So how do we solve something really complex like child labour? We have a really scalable solution. So we work with data and AI to detect the root causes of child labour in supply chains. From a data perspective, we identify, extract, collate, quality assure and model an immense amount of existing open data. So our average data set for per country is about 170 data sources after quality assurance and about 70,000 rows of data. Our data sets cover 13 of the 17 SDGs and is based on our 10 sector methodology. So what this does is really opens up what's happening in people's lives and what basic needs people, communities and children have access to, which are what the root causes are. So in order to extract this data, we have an AI solution that is based on pattern recognition and natural language processing that manually or automatically now extracts data. So we can have a really good understanding of what we're doing. It feeds into our main product, which is called Aslam. It's provided to corporations, usually global 500s, with problems of child labour in their supply chain. And Aslam supports corporates to understand, what should I do about child labour in my supply chain? So we cover everything from policy and legislation through to internal data systems that companies have. And then finally, we use our data sets to identify what the root causes are and how companies can optimize their existing spend to have more impact in communities. We are moving into other mediums of data at the moment. So we also work with satellite and geospatial analysis to predict child labour prevalence. We're moving into image-based data as well. So we are real pioneers in innovation around data sources and merging multiple mediums of data together to understand how people live in supply chains, open up that visibility and really optimize that spend that's already going in. Thank you so much for even inviting me onto this. It's a real pleasure.
Thank you, Eleanor. And yeah, you promised you'd be under time, so
I did promise, yeah.
Amini, over to you. Your thoughts, questions, feedback.
Thank you so much for that. What an important issue. I mean, deeply important issue, a global issue. And I'm just wondering if you can share with us. I would imagine that governments are interested in this information and would want to use it in a public policy environment to reduce child labor, not just in terms of, governments would be interested in reducing child labor, and especially as it relates to what the private sector, the role that the private sector is playing in this. I'm wondering, if you've had interaction with governments, if governments are excited about this product, and how they could be possibly used in that environment.
It's a fantastic question, and totally agree that it's multi-stakeholder. A problem of child labour is multi-stakeholder, so from family through to government, through to intergovernmental and private sector as well. So we have had some interactions with governments, and we certainly have interactions with statistical departments in governments. We use a lot of their data as well. We work really closely with the UN across different UN fractions, so Alliance 8.7, the child labour platforms and various other different intergovernmental inside the UN. I think that it's difficult when you're a smaller company to access the governmental departments as you need them, but it's something that we'd absolutely love to be working on, and we do have that opportunity through the UN, albeit limited, but yes, it's something that we'd love to do more of.
Thanks, Amini. And Jessie.
Yeah, again, just Eleanor, thank you for kind of sharing this really quite shocking statistics. I hadn't appreciated that the rates of child labour were actually rising significantly, although sadly not surprising given the kind of economic status of the world as well. I guess kind of Amini was asking obviously more around the kind of public sector opportunity. I'm interested around the private sector opportunity because you talked about how you partner with corporates, with private sector institutions, but I'm also conscious that data is fantastic if it enables you to solve problems, but it does also sometimes shine a light on problems that perhaps for private sector organizations is actually something that they don't necessarily want to have visibility of or share. I'm just interested how you engage around that problem and how you work with kind of corporate partners to overcome that, your value proposition to them in that regard.
Yes, of course, there is always sensitivity around data. It's a difficult barrier that we always have to work with. I think that our main value proposition to corporates is we're there to help them, not to expose them. And now a lot of the data that is being reported, or certainly a law that passed last week, is now data that's being reported by corporates in the EU or operating within the EU is now subject to third-party auditing and third-party verification. So there is a huge shift in legislation that actually requires or is trying to avoid greed and purpose washing of reporting of data. So not only is it a legislative push, but we also partner with the corporates to support them on that journey as child labour experts, rather than trying to out them as a child labour in a kind of shaming way. And I do believe that is the most important way that we can involve stakeholders around the table, saying this is everyone's responsibility, and there is no kind of one solution fits all or one silver bullet or one corporate or government that can solve this. It's really working together.
Thank you, guys, and thank you, Eleanor.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have our final presenter of the day, and for this session, Sabine Stuiver, the co-founder and CMO of Hydraloop International.
Water. We all need water and we can't live without, but by 2050, we will have 2 billion more people on the planet. 60% of us will be living in urban environments, and we will need 55% more water than we're using today. And we are already running out. So we are facing a massive challenge. And for the 5th year in a row, our world has faced severe water shortages. In Europe, it was the worst drought in 500 years. And we've all noticed this loud and clear. Harvests failing, business operations are stagnating, and people had to adapt lifestyles. And the drought is not only caused by climate change, but also because demand for water is increasing due to population growth. And we cannot keep pumping up more water because there simply isn't enough. So business as usual is no longer an option. We need to change the system. And at Hydraloop, we created a vision that every building has its own water source. And this is the lightly contaminated grey water from bath, showers, washing machine, and condensation water from air conditioning, heat pump, and wash dryer. And by collecting this lightly contaminated grey water on the spot in the building and treating and purifying it so it's clean, clear, and safe, this water can be used a second time for those purposes that do not need tap water quality. And every day you create a new batch of water independent if it rains or not. And rainwater, yes, it should be collected, but it should be used outdoors to replenish groundwater levels and water our beautiful gardens and green roofs for cooling urban environments. And our slogan is, use water twice. A mission so simple it will be powerfully disruptive. And the mission is possible with our IoT-connected, consumer-friendly Hydraloop water recycling solutions that reduce water consumption by up to 45%, reduce wastewater emissions by 45%, reduce carbon footprint, and save energy and money. And we offer a variety of products in different sizes. So we have for homes, but also modular and scalable made-to-measure solutions for commercial real estate, student housing, sports clubs, hotels, and more. And this is our latest product that we will globally launch in January in Vegas, the Hydraloop Concealed, which is integrated with the toilet flushing system, tapping into the market of 2-person apartments, tiny houses, and also retrofit situations. And of course, you can customize your Hydraloop to your taste and make the smallest room in your home a statement of water sustainability and design. Now, we see a growing trend in many countries where building codes are changing and substantial water savings become mandatory. And water reuse requires a slightly different piping network, but when it's implemented by design, the extra costs are negligible. So therefore, what we are advocating is build, recycle ready, and future-proof. Now, some people ask, what about the business case? Well, a water recycler is a stable investment, and we already offer ROIs between 5 and 7 years in many countries. And water will become more expensive like anything else that is scarce. But the most important thing, does it make a difference? Yes, it does. With recycling, a family can save up to 50 to 75,000 liters a year. But if 50% of everybody on this planet would recycle its water, a staggering 250 billion liters of water, and 105,000 tons of CO2 could be saved every single day. We're a purpose-driven company with a mission-driven team, 48 staff now, and growing offices in the US, Middle East, the Netherlands, Canada, and Australia, and 130 partners in 50 countries. And I'm very, very proud to show you some of the recognition that we've been getting for the impact that our solutions give to society. And I'd like to end by saying that we have to accelerate the change, and we cannot do this on our own. So I hope you will join me in our mission to change our world into a water smart society. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sabine. That was great. So for our final questions, Jessie, if you'd like to.
Yeah, sure. And Sabine, I know we've connected previously, but every time we speak, I'm inspired by how passionate you are about the water crisis, and such an important mission to use water twice, but also what a beautiful design. I wish my toilet looked as beautiful as that. And I guess kind of it links to my question around, so I'm sitting here in the UK. How do I buy a Hydraloop? Can I buy one directly, or what's your kind of distribution and sales model? Do you partner with distribution channels? And if so, could you share a little more about what those are and kind of how you go to market?
Yeah, okay. So we work with a partner network. We currently have 130 partners in over 50 countries. So we also have partners in the UK. You can just go on our website and find a partner. And if we don't have a partner yet and you are interested in, as a consumer or as a company or as an organization, to save water, just connect with us and we'll find you a partner. So these are the partners that will actually are marketing, selling, installing, and servicing our products. And this is the go-to-market strategy is new construction. And we're also talking to large white good companies already at the moment, whereby we're looking at private label, white label, and hopefully even in the future doing licensing deals.
Great. Thanks, Sabine.
You're welcome.
Amini, your final question of the day.
Hi, Sabine. That was amazing. Indeed. Beautiful design. What an incredible product. I'm here in a space where water is scarce. And I'm wondering how can your product be used in scarce water environments? And just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
We need a certain input. So if there is no water at all, what we're now doing is we're teaming up with other companies, because there are companies that are, for example, creating water from air. So we're already doing projects where there is no water or like very, very limited water. Well, we are with the other companies, we are bundling all these companies whereby we are creating water, but then because that costs energy and money, we make sure that precious water gets a second life and gets a second loop. And then we usually also are working together with other companies that are done treating the wastewater, so that we are really making a close and circular loop. So, but if it's scarce, we can double it. Like in Cape Town, we did when it was 50 liters, we created 100 liters. So, instead of having it yellow and letting it mellow, you were able to actually flush it or water your tomato plants or have dignity. And yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, guys. So we have come to the end of our presentations. 5 amazing initiatives, brilliant presentations. Well done to everyone. So thank you, Abdelrazek, Alejandro, Dieudonne, Eleanor, and Sabine. Nice work. And thank you to Amini and Jessie. Really appreciate your thoughts and questions.